Time now for business, beginning as ever with the markets. Firstly, how things closed up in the United States on Tuesday. Losses across the board, as you can see there. The Dow Jones ending down almost 0.3%. The S&P 500 down 0.2 percentage point. The Nasdaq, meanwhile, ending down 0.7%. Well, as for Asia this Wednesday, a slightly mixed bag. Only the Kospi in Seoul trading in positive territory. All others trading in negative territory. The Nikkei in Tokyo down 0.44%. The Shanghai Composite down almost 0.8%. The Hong Kong Hang Seng trading down 0.3 percentage point, as you can see there. Well, for more on that, let's bring in, if it works this time, Han Tan, markets analyst at FX at TM. Han Tan, would you take us through what we're seeing on the markets today?
Yeah, what we are seeing is a fair bit of wait and see mode ahead of that keenly anticipated Fed meeting, with that decision due in about 14 hours or so from now, right? So we are seeing markets dialing back ever so slightly their exposure to risk. That's why we look at US benchmark indices. They are posting record highs, only to then pull back slightly. And right now, like you pointed out, we've got a mixed bag across Asia as well. So I think all eyes are very much on what the Fed has to say or not say in about 14 hours from now.
And markets are also responding, aren't they, to new data that shows a real spike in inflation in the US?
Indeed, you're right, because despite what the Fed has been saying for weeks, if not months now, there are still enough people in the markets who think that U.S. inflation is set to come roaring back, right? So, and if that happens, the idea is that the Fed would then have to adjust its policy settings much sooner than markets expect. So they are trying to preempt that. Although, to be fair, to put it into proper context, the moves of late have been relatively subdued compared to what we saw in the first quarter, because it looks like markets are getting more used to what the Fed has been preaching of late.
And we are, of course, halfway through the trading week. What should we be looking out for as the week comes to come to its end?
Really, I think all eyes is on the Fed. The Fed meeting certainly takes center stage here. Now, to be clear, the Fed is not expected to adjust any of its policy settings this week, but it's about the communication about its future intentions, right? What's the timeline? What kind of economic conditions would be ripe for the Fed to then move next? And in that move, I'm talking about their plans to pull back some of their $120 billion in asset purchases per month. So if we do see some hawkish or more dovish than expected cues out of the Fed overnight, at least for Asian time, I think markets are more than ready to react to any such cues.
Han Tan, for your insights, thank you very much. An international cruise ship has docked in mainland Spain for the first time in over a year. The ship is operated by the travel giant TUI and is carrying 1,200 German tourists who've been instructed to keep in small, organised groups at all times to avoid potential COVID contamination. All passengers have had to provide 2 negative COVID tests, although there's no vaccination requirement. Following the announcement that England has decided to delay lifting its remaining COVID restrictions until the 21st of July, the country's theatre industry has expressed disappointment and alarm. It's yet another hit to UK theatres that were forced to close last year because of the pandemic, with few concrete reassurances from the government this time round. Marius Sophos has the story.
It's an industry that employs around 300,000 people across the UK, while London's West End alone brought in nearly €930 million in 2019. In 2020, however, ticket sales at UK theatres dropped by 93% due to the pandemic closures. While some theatres reopened in May with small productions and a 50% capacity, the full reopening has been delayed once again, from June the 21st to July 19th. It's devastating for the industry.
A 4-week delay to the theatre world is, pretty much disastrous for a lot of people. Up until now, we'd all been led to believe, obviously, that June the 21st was going ahead.
For large, expensive shows such as major West End musicals, social distancing is not financially sustainable, with most of them having planned for fall summer reopenings.
in some regards, the business side of it is very delicate. Everything is in the balance there, and I would say that that's true across the board. It's not just ourselves; that's the entire West End.
A cultural recovery fund provided by the UK government went largely to the non-profit sector, leaving large-scale commercial productions without funds or insurance. The theatre and music industries have lobbied for a government-backed insurance programme in case live events have to be cancelled due to the pandemic, so far to no avail.